Diddy or didn't he? Did he do it? Did he not do it? Did he break into Kid Cudi's place? Did he sabotage or assault his dog in some way, poison his dog, do something to his dog? Did he actually set the Porsche 911 on fire? Who knows? Kid Cudi took his stand yesterday, and it was a pretty big moment. He comes in like a rock star and an actor, and he comes in a leather jacket, smoking a cigarette, and he gives his testimony regarding the Diddy case. Time to talk. Let's talk Kid Cudi, and let's talk about yesterday, which I believe was day 9. Hard to keep up. I keep whatever. Anyway, in the Diddy trial, the ongoing trial of the century, in the whole sex trafficking / racketeering charges, criminal charges that have been brought against the guy known as Sean Combs, Puffy, Diddy, whatever you call him, from whatever generation you're from. Anyway, time to talk. Subscribe. Let's get right into it. So first, the assistant, who started testifying on Wednesday, George Kaplan, he continued his testimony, wrapped up, and talked about the fact that he had, witnessed things, on a plane, and he witnessed, violence against Cassie, and supposedly some situation with green apples being thrown or something along those lines. He testified to that and more violence. So I guess more support to the fact that this guy was an abusive boyfriend to Cassie, which we all know by now. We all witnessed that. And that's what George Kaplan testified. And to the idea that, he, basically drove to get drugs and do things along those lines, which I talked about yesterday. The idea that you have an assistant working for you that's basically saying, hey, you're telling them, hey, go get me some weed, go get me this, get me that. I just think that's a normal part of being a celebrity. You have people who go get you things, whether they're illegal things or not, or what these things are, it's not relevant. But having an assistant go make sure you've got condoms at a hotel, or you've got, some ecstasy here or there, or you're going to smoke whatever your drug of choice is, whatever your thing is, or supply alcohol. We need bottles of this. If you think, Guns N' Roses didn't have, hotel rooms full of all sorts of stuff, like you're crazy, right? So he testified to that. Now, let's just get to the good stuff. Let's get to the Kid Cudi stuff. Kid Cudi comes in and testifies. And again, I'm not doing the breakdown where it's line by line by line with the analysis. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give you the basics, right? He basically comes in and he testified to an alleged home invasion where there's testimony that Diddy's assistant, KK, or whatever her name is, alleges that she was forced by Diddy in a car to go to Cudi's residence in Hollywood Hills section of California. And she called Cudi to let him know that Diddy was forcing her to go and that he's currently inside your house. Cudi decides to head back to his house, try to, I guess, intercept or get with Cudi, get with Diddy, figure out what's going on. He calls Diddy and he claims that Diddy was calm and said, oh, he just wants to talk. This is definitely all going to make it into a feature film at some point, or some random series on Netflix they're going to turn it into, whatever. But he gets, Diddy's no longer there. When he gets there, Diddy's not there, supposedly. But the door had been opened, and he left the door open anyway. So Cudi admits that he left the door open for his assistant and the dog sitter or whatever that was. And we'll get to the dog right now. Cudi claims that his dog, who he usually lets roam, it's a French bulldog, was locked in the bathroom. And the bathroom showed signs of scratch marks, claw marks on the door for the dog, because the dog was trying to get out, which you would see that if a dog was locked in and they were trying to get out, that's what they would do. But claims that there was like toilet paper around, the dog was acting funny. So there's this whole section in the testimony about the dog's behavior, some possible something took place. Sean Diddy Combs might have done something to the dog, and the dog has suffered and has been going through trauma ever since. This is the allegation. Now, keep in mind, this is because Cudi was at that moment dating Cassie Ventura. She was getting in between, when she was off with Diddy, she was supposedly with Cudi. So that's where Diddy fits into this whole picture of intimidation towards Cudi and wanting to confront him. That's what that whole thing is about. So Cudi claims that the cameras also, I guess, to the house or wherever that, I don't know if it's a Ring doorbell or it's some sort of camera, whatever security system, the cameras are moved. I find it a little suspect, personally. It's just me. I'm not saying it didn't happen or it did happen, but the cameras were moved. You had dog sitter / house sitter. You had people there, but they left for whatever reason, and that wasn't really, specified. Like they weren't there, and conveniently Diddy showed up, entered into a house, rifled through Christmas presents. I guess this is around Christmas time or something in 2011, 2012. Must have been like the end of the year. And he opened Christmas presents with expensive gifts and stuff. Like Diddy came into the house coincidentally at a time when no one was there, and then did some Mission Impossible type thing and moved the security cameras. I just don't get that. Not to mention the security footage would have picked that up, right? Like you would have seen, like there's no evidence whatsoever that Sean Combs, this guy, showed up into a driveway or to the house on the street, walked to this guy's door, walked into his home. I don't believe for a second that there's zero security cameras anywhere. First of all, in Hollywood Hills, anywhere, most Tony neighborhoods are going to have security cameras, like usually all over the place. So whenever there's some sort of crime in the neighborhood, a hit and run, a drive-by, something that happens, a break-in, there's usually security cameras that are accessed by law enforcement to put together or piece together activity within that area. So on a particular block, they'll have one person's ring cam happen to have a clear view of the street, so they know what cars went by. People's security in their home, they have multiple points where they are covering large areas, right? And so there's like redundancies set up. So there's numerous cameras. Why was there no footage whatsoever of this guy ever? So the other part of this is the actual car bombing, the alleged car bombing of Cudi's 9/11. So we've heard about this in the news when it first happened, but there's never been a conviction. There's never been a criminal thing opened here. There's been no charges filed. There's supposed evidence of the actual hole in the roof of the 9/11, of the actual top, the convertible, and where the Molotov cocktail was placed, and all the evidence of the burnt up car, the firebombed car. Yet, still, no security footage from anywhere on the block, anywhere near the home, any kind of security whatsoever to capture any of this, whether it's Diddy or one of his associates, somebody connected to him. There's nothing. Zero. And nothing ever materialized out of that. So all of this is still a matter of, well, we believe it happened. Then Cudi testifies to, at some point in the future, Soho House, they had a meeting. He goes and he meets Puffy. And of course, it gets dramatized for the purpose of the court hearing, I guess. But he claims that Diddy was standing in the window like a Marvel villain, standing with his back turned, like Morpheus, I guess, and then turned around and welcome. And then, it's kind of like that whole thing, or some Nino Brown kind of thing is the way he set it up. And you got to wonder if Cudi's just playing to the cameras and Cudi's playing to, he's an actor, and is he playing this whole thing up? Because, again, all of this is meant to put Sean Diddy Combs in the light of being this mogul who was running a RICO enterprise and essentially doing all, this is all testimony meant to solidify that case, which I still feel hasn't really been made yet. We've established the fact that Diddy had a relationship with a woman named Cassie for a long period of time, a toxic relationship, a drug-fueled, sex-fueled relationship that was unconventionally, whatever, a little freaky, a little out there. They had escorts. It was what it was. He was jealous. She was jealous. They had their back and forth. They were on, off again. She went with a different guy. He got with different girls. It was a jealous, drug-fueled, sex-fueled, violent relationship because he's got a bad temper and he's a control freak. None of this spells out an enterprise or an organization meant to profit and to run a network of all sorts of... I just don't see that yet. I still don't see that. This whole testimony by Cudi, there are people suggesting that this does move to the RICO charges. This does make the prosecution's case to a certain degree. But again, I say from a legal perspective, what are we looking at? Zero evidence of the car bombing, zero evidence of Puffy being in this guy's house, Diddy being in this guy's house. Zero. There's no evidence. There's no case. I just don't see. You would have to have some sort of footage. I still don't understand, and no one's talking about this. I still don't understand no security. Like, unless Cudi lives in some secluded home in Hollywood Hills, which a lot of them are, like, they're secluded, but there's neighbors here, but there's fences and there's different levels of landscaping and all sorts of ways of sort of retaining privacy. But still, the amount of security in that area, the amount of cameras that cover so much, and no one has any footage of Diddy just even walking up and ringing a doorbell. Even if Diddy just showed up to talk to the guy casually and ring the doorbell, there's no There's nothing. Zero. So we're to believe that Diddy and his minions orchestrated a Mission Impossible style operative where they went in and took out all the security cameras first. Is that what they're implying? I don't know. I as I mentioned yesterday, I find it interesting that YouTubers and people who are commenting on this stuff and who are doing videos and producing, clickbait headlines and thumbnails talked about the dog situation. I'm not even going to name names, but one particular person was talking about the dog and spent like 10 minutes with her mouth aghast and so horrified at what could Diddy have possibly done to the dog, because they claimed that there was no external injuries, but the dog was traumatized, which means Diddy must have done something, maybe with some baby oil, with the dog. I was like, really? That's where you're going with this? You believe? I could... Maybe if he did show up and he did do something to the dog, maybe he kicked the dog, maybe he gave the dog a pill or something, I don't know. But that would have shown up in some sort of toxicology report or some sort of examination of the dog. Maybe they would have found out, or the dog would probably have been dead if Diddy gave him some sort of drug or something like that, right? But this person is making a huge deal, as well as others, that it's possible Diddy did something sexual with the dog. Wow, people, this is a legal case. I know that it's providing tons of material for people to do YouTube. I mean, look, I'm here talking about it daily, right? I was doing politics at first, and now the Diddy trial, which is the trial of the century, is all people can talk about. It's what we're doing. We're keeping up with the case. But I remind you, people, all right? Don't do the clickbait thing where it's just like, oh, Diddy assaulted the dog and he definitely did this. And use your legal minds, right? Not all of you have legal minds, but think of it from the perspective of where have they made their case that this guy's running some criminal enterprise. So far, all this guy's done was like, look, I like my freak offs. Make sure on Wednesday I got my stuff in the hotel. Make sure my drugs are there. Make sure you got enough baby oil. And that's all this guy's done. And he's been an abusive son of a bitch. So when it comes to that, yeah, we all know from a character perspective, this guy's no good. But the whole Rico thing, I'm still going to stand my ground and say, I'm going to end this video by saying, once again, I do not see that case. I just don't. All right. Anyway, time to talk. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Cudi's testimony. Do you think it, enhanced the prosecution's case for the RICO charges and all that stuff? Or do you agree with me? Do you feel like, hey, there's no evidence to this and what's up? Well, let me know your thoughts on what do you think happened to any evidence, or was there some security cam footage that's being, I don't know. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel, like the video on the way out. You got to like the video on the way out. It really helps the algorithm and everything behind the scenes. I'll see you on the next time we talk. Peace.